What are you doing?
I'm making a coffee for Ollie, and I've made him a bacon sandwich because he is doing this interview for me, so I thought I'd sweeten him up. So I'm going to make him a special latte. Okay, let's go and give it to him. I made you a picnic. So this is Ollie. He is the farrier. Ollie, how long have you been shoeing for?
21 years.
21?
Yeah.
Wow. And how long have you been shoeing racehorses?
Racehorses now. Well, as an apprentice we shod racehorses. So ever since really. As long as I've been doing it, we've always had racehorses to deal with.
That's like the pad underneath?
That's the pad underneath the aluminium racing plate.
So these are the shoes that she had when she was racing?
So these are the shoes she's raced in. So you've got an aluminium racing plate and you've got the Jim Blurton. She's got a graduated, slightly raised hoof pad there with frog support.
Is that just for comfort?
It's to support the back there of the foot, because if you look at her foot, she's quite low in her heels.
Yeah.
If you look at the bolts of the frog are there.
Yeah.
Ideally, you'd like to see the point of the heel sort of run parallel in comparison with the bulb of the heel, but she's quite low, so obviously this is to support the back third of the foot, which is the area that you get the majority of your problems, your corns, your bruising,
yeah,
your little niggly soft tissue injuries.
So will she have to have those on again?
Not necessarily. I mean, while she's not in training, she's not racing, we can just try. We're just going to put her in a set of light steels today. See how she goes really. I mean, obviously the work's not as intense now as it would have been having been in training. So hopefully she'll be quite comfortable once we've sort of reshod her, rebalanced her feet.
Thoroughbreds' feet are really delicate, not delicate but weak, aren't they?
They can be. Generally they can be more so than your sort of native breed horses, but the thoroughbreds in general, I mean, we show a number of thoroughbreds and you tend to find the trimming work you do with them, yeah, you don't trim as much as you would maybe off your riding ponies, but generally I think if you sort of maintain the feet and they're shod that regularly, you can keep the feet quite strong.
Is it true about the white feet that they're more sensitive? That's what
I mean, yeah, you hear that white feet are softer than black feet, and I think generally just in a white foot, more of the ailments show up because of the colour of the foot. You can see the pigment, you see any bruising sort of does, and generally the bruising does sort of peer through the foot. But
so that might be a myth buster.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll put that one out to the jury. That yeah, not too sure on that one.
I just look at this pad; it's so cool. I'm just going to show you the pad. So that's the shoe. What are these plates made out of?
Aluminium.
So that's the aluminium shoe, and then you've got the padding underneath. And it came off in one.
Now we've taken the old shoe off, we've cleaned the sole out, we've pared the old sole away, tidied the frogs up, and now we're just forward dressing the foot because the angle was slightly longer in the toe. So we're just dressing these sort of rough edges away. Just try and give us a nice sort of hoof to work with. Not to overdress, but just maintain a nice hoof.
How often do horses get shod in racing compared to regular horses?
Racehorses are probably more regular, just for the nature of obviously the work they do, and the majority of them are being aluminium shoes, and obviously aluminium's softer than the steel, so you don't get the wear, you don't get the weeks wear you'd get out of your riding horses.
Right.
Obviously they're shod in a lot heavier steel shoe.
So do you think because she's having a slight difference in the shoe now, do you think that'll make a difference with her walking? Will she?
No, it wouldn't be enough to make a difference. It's still a light steel training plate, but it's just the steel equivalent. I mean, ideally she doesn't need shoeing until every 2-3 weeks while she's not in training.
Wow. Oh yeah, it is heavier.
We're going to give her a go without the pads, see.
Yeah.
We don't really know her history, so as to why they had the pads,
yeah,
not knowing why they were there in the first place, but generally those pads are used for that problem.
So do you always hot shoe?
No, I'll be cold shoeing her today. Obviously she's probably not used to being hot shod, so we'll cold shoe her off the stall jack.
So
shoe all the racehorses off of that.
Cold shod?
All cold shod. They're shod in the stables. Cold shod. Generally, I think you find with the racehorses, they spend a lot of time in their stables. You start, obviously, to bring them out of the stable to hot shoe them, you'd have to bring them out of the stable. Also, you know, they come out of the box for exercise, so you tend to find the yard might get a bit fractious. So we keep them in the boxes, shoe them cold.
Yeah.
Don't shoe any racehorses. Well, I don't. Other farriers probably do. Majority of horses me and Darren do. They're flat horses, so they're obviously not your big national hunt. I'm sure there's farriers out there that do the national hunt horses hot. But yeah, so you can see what we've done now. We've pared all the old sole away. We've tidied up the frog. We've dressed the foot. Just going to set the clip in slightly at the front of the shoe there.
Did you just make a gap for the
Yeah, just to set the toe clip in there.
So what is the difference then between hot shoeing and cold shoeing?
I mean, generally, if you're hot shoeing, obviously, when you're trimming the feet, your feet should be level when you're trimming them anyway. But obviously, when you're hot shoeing a bigger foot, you burn it to the foot and you get a nice sort of level fit between the foot surface and the shoe surface. But, I mean, it's easier as well to sort of fit a heavier shoe. Some of the riding horse shoes, you wouldn't want to try and fit them cold. They're such a big section, heavy section. Whereas these are what we call a light steel. So they're quite easy to manipulate around the cold stand. And now we're just going to nail on a new one. Just ringing off the point of the nail.
A lot of people think that putting the nail in hurts them, but there's no nerves in the hoof, is there? There is
nerves in the hoof, but not the part we work with. The best way to describe it is it's like your fingernail. Literally, it's the part that grows beyond where it is sensitive. That's the bit we work with. Obviously, the foot does have a lot of nerves in it, it has a blood supply. It is a live structure, but you just have to be careful. Well, that's what you train for. Your apprenticeship teaches you where you need to nail your shoes, where you should be working.
And you know there's more holes in the actual shoe than needed. Why is that? If you're
so the idea of all the nail holes in the shoes, it basically gives you options, because you look at some horses, they might have a crack. They might say they've got a crack there, you can't use the toenail, you need to nail behind it. It just gives you options to nail into better foot. So it's not, I mean, generally we don't, well, we don't put more than 6 nails in each foot. And some horses we just put 5 nails in each foot. But the extra nail holes just give you the option to nail into the stronger wall. Yeah, now we're nailed on the new shoe. You can see where the point, obviously we've shouldered to the point of the frog there, the widest part of the foot. Try and give as much support as we can back in the heels here. Just going to tighten it up.
Can you just explain why some horses don't have shoes and why some do?
Personal preference, I suppose. Some of them don't need them. They don't go onto any, they work a lot on just soft surfaces, they don't do much road work, feet are quite strong. And it is now, it is a personal preference. I mean, there's a big, a lot of people don't have shoes on the horse. I mean, we have shoes to protect the feet, to maintain a nice strong hoof. The sort of horses we do, the sports horses, they do doing a lot of work. You know, some they probably wouldn't stand up to not having shoes on. But yeah, really it is sort of personal preference. But the jumping show jumpers we do, race horses, they're all shod. And now we're just finishing off the foot. Just clenching the foot up, you can't leave the nail sticking out, so I've gone from this to this, just turning your clenches, folding them in safely, dressing any excess hoof off. I think also horses are shod to provide you know, when they're running on various different surfaces, constantly racing, especially racehorses on so many different types of surfaces, you want traction, you know, you want to keep them, they give them that bit of more cut into the ground. And the natural foot does cut into the ground to a certain degree, but obviously with the shoe on, just gives you that extra bit of grip and stability.
Is the shoe different from running on the grass to running on, say, all weather?
No, the shoes are all the same. Obviously it's the surfaces that just vary. The shoes are the same. If they're racing, we've got them in aluminium plates. If they're just training, we'll keep them in light steels. A lot of them we might train in alley plates in front and light steels behind, because the horses we do up at Epsom, they have to do a little bit of road work. So you just tend to find they're a bit heavier wearing behind, so we do keep a lot of them in light steels behind. But no, the shoes are the same. The shoes don't change, be it grass or a synthetic surface.
In America, they have studs in their shoes, don't they? And then when they come to Britain, they have to have them out, right?
Yeah, to our knowledge, I think there's a rule that says they're not allowed to have any studs, any corkings, toe grabs, anything like that. I've never really got into it. We've never had any reason to put studs in racehorses. Show jumpers we have studs in, obviously, because they're jumping big tracks.
Yeah.
They have to have studs in. But no, never the racehorses, and I think it is, like I said, it's a rule. So yeah, so that's a freshly shod foot.
That's the difference?
That's the difference between the two.
Beautiful.
We've probably just shod her a little bit, with a little bit more support back at the heel here. Because she's not racing now, you can sort of get away with giving her a little bit more support, because obviously knowing that she had those pads on gives you a rough idea that she's had some sort of issues with that back third of the foot, as to what it is.
So will that grow out and the support will build naturally?
So she's got you get a natural expansion of the hoof. It'll support the heels because she's got a bit of width at the heel there. Yeah, hopefully what we'll start to just the feet will grow down as they need to be. Like I said, the pads weren't so much for a foot growth issue or anything like that. The pads were to support whatever issue she's had in training.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have those same issues again. If we do, we've got the pads there. They're quite a common use pad. We use them on the jumping horses and the racehorses. We've got a couple we shoe now that are racing them.
Is that rubber, did you say?
That's plastic.
Oh, that's plastic?
Yeah. It's cut. It's like cut for a 3D computer cutting laser cutting. It's like they're called 3D pads. Jim Blurton, I think, makes them now. Derek Poupard, the Godolphin farrier, that's his design. He come up with this design.
Really?
Yeah, Derek Poupard was the first 3D hoof product, I think it is. He does all the hoof casts, does the pads. So yeah, they were Derek's design to start with. Like I said, we've shot a few of them. This is a graduated one. It's got a slightly raised heel, slightly elevated at the heel. You can have them in a flat, elevated. You can have them in half mesh, or you can have, I think I might have another one in the van. We'd have a soft dental impression material under there between the foot and the pad. And
What's
you can
the holes for?
So the holes just so the impression material squeezes into it.
Oh, okay.
And then obviously that's the one, that's the same pad again, that's the same pad but without the half mesh on it.
Oh yeah.
Slightly elevated at the heel.
Oh.
That's come off one of the horses we show.
Can't reuse them.
Oh, you can, but they're kind of knackered now at that point, yeah.
Can I keep this?
Yeah, of course you can.
On her back shoe, when it came off, it was heavier, so I assume she has different shoes compared to the front.
She looks to me like she's got a light steel behind. So again, she was trained, what area was she trained in?
Brett Johnson.
Oh yeah, so she was Epsom, so they do a bit of road work, so again that's why they might have had the light steels on behind.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see behind she's taken the shoe off, she's got very little foot there to do anything with.
Yeah.
Behind, you just cross it up, check there's nothing.
And will you trim the frog now?
Yeah, we'll tidy the frog up, there's not a massive amount to take off of there.
What do you prefer shoeing, thoroughbreds or other multi-purpose horses?
Generally, yeah, we do. I mean, we enjoy the thoroughbreds. We do a lot of them. I don't. Some days the thoroughbreds they can be hard work. some days you think of better places to be when you're doing 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. But.
What do you do? So, for instance, when you have the 2-year-olds, how do you get them used to being shod?
Just over time, really. Like myself, we're fortunate. There's 2 of us, so myself and Darren. One of us will be holding whilst one of us is shoeing. Generally you can't do the 2-year-olds other than when they are held. So yeah, they just in time you find they improve. Also, once they start doing a bit more work, and then once they've had that first race as a 2-year-old, you really see them mature sort of after that experience. But yeah, when they come in as yearlings and 2-year-olds at the start of the season, yeah, they can be quite challenging. But like I said, we're fortunate enough there's 2 of us to work with them, so you kind of get a bit of a break from it.
Yeah.
You get a bit of respite from the horses with 2 of you doing them.
And you do show jumpers as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do a lot of show jumpers as well.
Is it the same for them? I mean, obviously they're not worked as young, but do you...
Yeah, the youngsters are still the same, they're just a lot bigger than the racehorses. Yeah. It's kind of easier. I mean, some of the big youngsters, the show jumping yards, they might have to be sedated just to the pure size of them. I mean, some of those are stacked, you know, in comparison to the flat horses. I mean, you've seen some of the national hunt horses, how big they are. Yeah. These show jumpers are sort of way up there with your biggest national hunt horses.
Yeah.
And yeah, they might get a vetting and sedate them. Obviously, with racing, you can't just sedate through testing. But they're generally sort of 4-year-old before they're really having a set of shoes on, and their whole sort of process of being produced is completely different to the racehorses. As you know yourself, the racehorses are racing at 2, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, beyond that. Whereas these sort of don't start their career till then. So yeah, I mean, she's had a light steel on behind. Difference obviously the front and the hinds. In these shoes, you've got your quarter clips behind. Yeah. Just allows me to fit the shoe and leave a little bit of toe over. In case she does overreach or strike into the front leg, she'll knock herself with the toe instead of the steel part of the shoe. Yeah.
She tends to, when she trots, she knocks her hinds together.
Yeah, so she brushes. Yeah. Yeah, she comes close behind. Yeah, but these all, because being like the steel shoe, they're all safed off the inside branches as well. Yeah. So, you know, they're sort of prefabricated, these shoes, for your racehorses. We do put a toe clip on the racehorses behind if you've got one that wears the toes quite heavily. All the Marley plates we put on, they're toe clips. But whilst they're training, we tend to keep most of them in quarter clips. Thoroughbreds are good because they're so used to having their feet messed around with. Yeah, I think they do so much from such a young age. They're quite versatile, aren't they? They adapt quite quickly. You get quite a young horse with quite an experienced head, which is nice because they've seen a lot at a young age. Yeah. I already know the answer to this, but obviously your job requires you bending over a lot. Do you do anything to help with your back? No, I haven't done. Probably should do, but then I think I worry that it'll make my back worse. Because it's such a physical job. I mean, you've got to be strong for it, right? I don't know that it's strength so much. I mean, technique and just patience. Patience, yeah. You need a lot of patience. A lot of patience to do it. Just quickly then, if someone's watching this and they want to go down the route of being a farrier, how would they go about doing that? So the best way to do it, so you have to do your apprenticeship, which is the best part of 5 years by the time you've done it. You do your pre-farrier course. The people to get in touch with is the Farriers Training Agency, and then they'll put you, so you apply to the Farriers Training Agency to explain you want to become an apprentice farrier. They'll then place you with an approved, or they'll give you an option of approved training farriers, and then it's your job as someone looking for an apprenticeship to send off your letters, your CVs, see if you can get a bit of work experience, you know, get in with a couple of good farriers, or any farriers for that matter. Yes, basically the Farriers Training Agency is where it all will start, and then they do their 5-year apprenticeship with their approved training farrier. And at the end of that, each year you take exams, practical, theory exams, and then at the end of your 5 years, your apprenticeship takes like 4 years in 3 months. At the end of that, you do your diploma. Yeah, you've got to have your GCSEs to get into it now. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just GCSEs now, isn't it, Dale? Yeah. C's, isn't it? 5 of them. 5 C's, got to be in English and maths. Really? Okay. Yeah, so we haven't got any of them. What about science? Because obviously you're No. The science you learn is, there's nothing at school that they'll teach you that's got any relevance to the anatomy of the horse. The science you're taught through your apprenticeship. Right. The theory side of the job is, yeah, it's really complex. There's a lot to know. You know, we generally sort of study the horse as a whole generally, and then sort of do more from either the shoulder down, stifle down. Do a lot below the knee, below the hock. Obviously the feet. You have to learn about the arteries, tendons, nerves, blood supplies, how the foot grows, the various different problems and issues you can get with the feet and how you sort of deal with them, different variations of shoeing techniques. So yeah, there's a lot to learn, and I think all in all it's probably about the weeks you do at college. You do beginning of, I think I'm going back a long time now, it's probably different now, but when I did it we did 8 weeks at the beginning of our first year, and then we did a few weeks at the beginning of the second year, then at the end of your second year, and each year you'd take a practical exam, so you'd have to hand make some shoes, put them on, then the lecturers would assess you on that, and you'd have to sit written paper, so you'd get asked questions on whatever the anatomy is you've learnt, be it the tendons, ligaments, nerves, blood supply, you know, hoof growth, bones, how it all detached, joints. So,
whole shebang.
And then you have a little bit of a veterinary exam, which is the general management sort of overall understanding of the various different ailments you can see that might relate to foot issues. You know, we don't do that in as much detail. Obviously, we're sort of legs and downwards. But yeah, so.
If there's any problems with the hoof, you guys are the ones to go to.
Well, that's debatable. But yeah, I think just generally, if you any problems with the hoof, vets are so good now. Farrier's good. I mean, we work alongside. I think if you've got a good vet, you've got a good farrier, you've got a good owner. That's the hardest part of the job. So
the guys at Equine Products kindly sent me some farrier friend, and Ollie's got his Equine Products hat on, ready to go. So why is it important to use hoof oil and hoof products?
Okay, so hoof products, you've got your various different hoof products. This time of year where the weather's warm, you want to try and condition the feet. There's not a lot of natural moisture. So you want to try and condition the feet. So that's where you want to get your hoof oils, your moisturisers, conditioning your feet, part of your hoof management underneath the feet. You know, it keeps a healthy hoof as well. You know, that's some products. You know, you've got healthy foot, most of it's healthy growth. Winter time, obviously it's complete opposite. It's soaking wet, it's muddy, and you want to try and repel some of those nasty bacteria, not allow as much moisture in. So you'd use that then to sort of repel a bit of the moisture, but it kind of regulates the moisture content the foot would need through the year. You know, in the winter it acts differently because of the surfaces and being out in muddy fields, wet fields.
And you already put this on the outside, don't you?
No, you put it on hoof form. A lot of people, I know, a lot of our clients put it underneath as well.
And on the frog?
Yeah, well, it's all the same. It's
Right,
it's all a horn structure.
Yeah.
It's all made up of the same stuff. It's just the density that varies. So that's why your frog's a bit more rubbery because it's not as dense as the hoof.
Yeah.
Your hoof obviously takes a lot of load, so that has to be stronger. So yeah, it's put it on.
And especially because we've got a sand school, right? So won't that dry the hoof out as well?
So the best thing, if you've got working in these surfaces, one of the key things doing, it's done at every racing yard. The last thing you see them do when they bring the horses off exercise is they wash the feet. The legs and the feet are washed because obviously a lot of these surfaces they've got wax, they've got fibres. You know, they come in and it does stick to them. So it's like they can get sore around the back of the heels and stuff. So you want to bring them in, hose them off, get all that sand off, your nice clean leg. And then, like hose the feet off, put a bit of your hoof oil, moisturiser over the top of that.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
So I'm just painting the hoof with the Farrier Friend hoof oil. Look at that, shiny toes.
Brand new ones.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Thank you so much, Ollie.
No problem. Very welcome.
Thank you.